Thank you for joining me. This is Nick Moskos. I'm the Chief of Planning for the Summit Metro Parks. We're going to be discussing the Munroe Falls Master Plan. The lake area of Munroe Falls Metro Park is centered around a former swim lake. Surrounding the lake are large areas of lawn, play areas, picnic shelters, sledding hill, and on the perimeter of the park are foot trails which go through the woods. The adjacent Talmadge Meadows area is known for its beautiful meadow and wetlands. Due to a sharp decline in swimming attendance, swimming was discontinued at Munroe Falls in 2022. Prior to discontinuing swimming, Summit Metro Parks reached out to the public and asked for their input regarding what they would like to see happen at the park. And these were the results. What you see is there was a desire to have additional trails, restrooms, environmental restoration, public events, and increased family-friendly programming. Taking that information, Summit Metro Parks embarked on some projects within the park. What you see here is a master plan showing some proposed improvements and some existing improvements. Let's start on the work that's already been done. This portion of the master plan references projects which were recent improvements. Let's look at those. Denoted here with the number 1 on the plan was the former two-way roadway that passed around the park. The roadway was recently repaved and restriped as a one-way road, leaving space for a trail for pedestrians. This trail is not only ADA compliant, but it will also be plowed in the winter for year-round use. A kiosk was added to the northeasternmost parking lot. This denotes the beginning part of the Firefly Trail. Sledding hill, denoted with the number 2 on the plan here, was recently modified to include lighting, and there was a mound added at the base of the hill to stop people from sledding across the road, which is just beyond the trees in this photo. A launch was recently added to allow paddlers access to the lake. Let's talk about master planning goals. Master planning will allow us to reimagine the park to better serve today's visitors. We're keeping the following goals in mind. We want to make specific improvements based on public feedback, activate park amenities with increased public events and family-friendly programming, provide better access to visitors with disabilities, expand on our commitment to conservation of natural and cultural resources, and create opportunities for year-round outdoor enjoyment of nature. Looked at the recent improvements. Let's take a look at the items which are proposed for the park. We've already looked at recent improvements. Now let's take a look at some proposed improvements. While looking at this plan, you can see Talmadge Meadows to the west, the large tan meadow area. You can see Munroe Falls Lake. You'll see a hatched area which represents our preservation areas. Trails are shown as solid for proposed trails and dashed for existing trails. The large lawn areas adjacent to the lake are no longer needed. They were previously used by swimmers to lounge while swimming, but since swimming is no longer taking place, the lawn areas can go away. To demonstrate these improvements, we're going to use some inspirational images, which you see here. And restoration of the former lawn areas will not only add to the natural beauty of the park, but it'll also reduce the impact of the environment caused by mowing the lawn, not to mention the man hours needed to mow the lawn. Restoration of the natural resources in the park include removal of invasive species, such as the invasive Norway spruce that you see to the right of this photograph. The bottom of the lake could be recontoured to provide better fish habitat. The perimeter of the lake could be regraded and vegetated to create more of a natural edge. Adding rock outcroppings would allow people to get close to the water's edge. Floating boardwalk will be added to the lake to allow access to the water, not only for fishing, but also just for the enjoyment of nature. Self-service kayak rental could be made available to provide easier access to the lake for those that don't have their own kayaks. Restrooms would be updated to flush type units. Shelters that have fallen into disrepair could be replaced, and perhaps a larger shelter could be added to provide for larger groups. Playgrounds have reached the end of their service life. They would be replaced with ones that have more of a natural feel and help to connect kids to nature. Another example of a nature-based playground. Focusing on the master plan, let's talk about a couple other areas that haven't been discussed. One of the big questions is what will happen to the existing buildings on the edge of the lake. When swimming was still allowed, there were concessions, restrooms, and a place for the lifeguards. With swimming no longer there, we are looking for good ideas as to how these buildings could be reused. Your feedback will greatly be appreciated to help us understand what uses are needed. The line shown here, which starts near the sledding hill and then goes through the northwestern section of Munroe Falls Metro Park, is a new trail that would take advantage of unused land that is forested and has wonderful rolling topography. This solid purple line represents another proposed trail that could connect the lake area and the Talmadge Meadows area of the Munroe Falls. The discussed improvements are being driven by our role as a conservation organization. As was discussed earlier, this hatch represents our preserve areas, our highest quality natural areas. As you can see, portions of the Indian Springs Trail pass through this area. The areas in gray represent portions of the Indian Springs Trail that will be removed along with the parking lot. The proposed trail shown here would connect one of the large parking lots on the south side of the lake to the Indian Springs Trail. The Freedom Trail passes just south of Munroe Falls Metro Park. We're proposing a multi-purpose trail that would connect the Freedom Trail to one of the larger parking lots on the south side of the lake. 2. Now it's your turn. We've provided a lot of information to you. You can see also here that we have provided some dates and times for you to meet with us in person and share your feedback. If you're not available for those meetings, you can see that there's a QR code here. Scan the QR code and it'll bring up a survey and you'll be able to provide your feedback. We look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.